Hey guys, Paul here. So for this next update, I'm going to show you a little bit of the upgrade system. I just started working on it, I believe yesterday or the day before. Um, and it's in a very basic state, but it's slightly there so I can kind of explain a little bit, explain the general goals, demonstrate a tiny bit of it. Alright, so here we are in the hangar. We see our basic fighter here. And if some of you notice, there's like this little turret mount here. So one of the first upgrades that you might get in Void Destroyer is getting a turret there. So we're going to click this current ship button, and we have this really basic GUI. This GUI is a placeholder. Right now for the upgrade weapons category, we have one upgrade here. It's called defense turret. We click it. When we do, we get the turret popping up here. We get a little bit of a description, and we can click the add upgrade button. When we do that, this changes to installed. So yeah, obviously this is really basic, really rough job here. For example, this font here is bigger than this font. All kinds of issues. You can't like click on this to swap it out, things like that, which you may or may not be able to do with some larger ships. And this background is just black. You know, maybe it'll be shade of blue or green or whatever. Maybe there'll be some other stuff in the background there. Maybe like a person for scale or something. We'll jazz this up a little bit. We'll change this, but you know, this upgrade is installed now. So when I exit out of this screen, my ship gets taken up there, and it's going to come back with the upgrade installed. Which, by the way, this is all purely cosmetic. You don't really need to wait for this to happen. You could just launch right now. But I think it's kind of cool, this little added thing of the ship actually being upgraded. Alright, so we have this turret now, so if we launch into space, if we go into combat, this turret is going to protect us. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit more about these upgrades. So right now we have these categories: engineering, propulsion, other. So you might think to yourself, the way other space games worked, where you could change out like the main guns, and I'm on the fence about letting the player change out the main guns or not, mainly because of how distinct every ship in the game is. You know, every gun looks a little different than every other gun. For example, this ship guns look like this, and if we look at some of the other ships in this purchase other ships button, these guns look completely different just because they fit in the shape of this ship. And if we keep going, this ship has turrets. Again, guns completely different, look completely different. This ship has turrets and fixed guns, which look very similar to this brick. But that's because the shape and the color scheme kind of fit. Again, this ship has turrets. It's a larger ship. So for upgrades, I'm thinking that these types of guns are not going to be changeable. Although that's not set in stone yet, but that's what I'm thinking. And the upgrades will be mostly confined to turrets and to internal systems and the kind of missiles you can buy. So, for example, this ship, the brick, the second ship you're most likely to buy, is probably not gonna have a turret upgrade for it. We'll see about that. I'm probably gonna add an intermediate ship between the brick and the Taurus here, and that intermediate ship might have a turret upgrade. So let's look at this ship. Let's buy it, and let's do an upgrade on it. And again, these are just the really rough steps, the basic steps, but just to cover something else about upgrades. And let's just turn down the sound here. It's already pretty quiet. All right, so here's this much larger fighter. Okay, there's a little bit of an issue there that I have to fix. It's asymmetrical on the turrets there. It's kind of goofy looking. But if we install the railgun turrets, if you notice, both of them were replaced, not just one of them. So that's kind of my line of thinking, where you're gonna do certain things in pairs if applicable, instead of like upgrading one and the other. Now it kind of makes it less customizable. Maybe you want one to be a projectile turret and the other railgun turret. So haven't made up my mind on this yet. But overall, I'm thinking more towards like a curated upgrade system where you can't do exactly everything you want. For example, if you remember that other turret, that first really basic turret in the Hornet, it's like a little turret sticking out there. I can't imagine sticking that turret here. In fact, these mounts are very distinctive, and they're basically only for this type of a turret here, is this ball turret. Any other turret would look really weird with this turret mount here. Is the turret mount is the turret itself. So for those reasons, certain ships are not going to have a lot of turret options, but maybe we'll spruce it up a little bit. We'll reuse some of these models, have the artist create some more gun options like a beam maybe, or multi-barreled railgun, or maybe a chain gun or something like that. But the point is that you're not going to be able to stick every turret here that you want, just because of how distinct this mount is. In a lot of space games, their ships are kind of generic-ish, where this could be a plasma cannon or a laser cannon or whatever, and looks exactly the same, but it can shoot different projectiles type of stuff. I don't want to go in that direction. I want ships to be a little more distinct than that. They already are visually, so I want to keep doing that weapons-wise. I want there to be pretty clear distinctions between them. So there's going to be a little bit of customization, but maybe not so much, and it's gonna function with the art style. So these other upgrades are going to be like internal upgrades, so they may or may not affect how the ship looks like the propulsion upgrade may affect this, or may not. I haven't really decided yet if I'm going to take the time to change the model to add like an engine here or something, but that's possible. I'm not really sold on either side yet. But you'll have, every ship will have a few sort of internal upgrade slots, um, and then you, as the player, will have to pick and choose what you want to put in there. For example, you might put in the engineering category, you might put like a shield generator. But if you only have one upgrade slot, you put a shield generator in, then you can't get like a real great bonus to the afterburner or to the engines or acceleration or something like that. Or maybe you can't, in the other category, maybe you can't put a tractor beam in or something. So it'll be a sort of a pick and choose type of deal, especially with smaller ships. Like the other thing in the engineering category could be uh, boosting armor but losing acceleration. So you might get like 20% more armor, but you might lose 10% acceleration. So they'll tend to be overall big gains, and they'll tend to give you sort of like a more refined experience in terms of like maybe you prefer more armor versus speed, maybe you prefer more speed versus armor. So if you have a specific playstyle, you could customize these ships a little bit more, make it a little more distinctive towards your playstyle, that sort of thing. So yeah, the shield upgrades aren't in yet, but that's going to be one of those things on the goal to do. Um, we'll see how that works. There'll be some other upgrades like armor, maybe more cargo space, but you lose some armor. Tractor beams. Tractor beams will work in a way that will slow down other ships maneuvering. So that'll be much easier to hit. Like a light ship won't be able to maneuver away from you as much. And in a heavy fighter, that might be a really great upgrade, or a larger ship with slower turrets. So that's what's planned for upgrades. Right now, it's just this basic turret swap out type deal. But as we move closer and closer to release, there'll be more and more variety to upgrades. Uh, Certain ships will have more upgrades than other ships. That type of a deal. So I think it'll keep ships being distinct, but at the same time give you that cool feeling of customizing ships, and also sort of this benefit and this pro and con to upgrades, where you get a boost in here, but you sacrifice here, that sort of a thing. Okay, so we're back with our Hornet. I got the upgrade installed. Let's launch. We see we got our turret there. So now, when we fly around in space, we got our turret. It's like it might be a little too powerful at the moment. I might have to slow down its rate of fire and ammo, but that's some tweaks to do. But basically, this sort of upgrade system also helps with difficulty. You know, when you first start out in this ship, you're barely making it, but if you do like a courier mission or a few really basic missions, you'll be able to afford this turret because it's like 2,000 credits or something to get this upgrade. So it really shouldn't be too big of a deal for you to upgrade to this turret, and then maybe a shield generator for a few other 1,000 credits or armor boost or a speed boost or whatever. But when you do get these, you know, as soon as you even do the really basic turret upgrade, then the game's going to become a lot easier for you. So if we go towards this pirate here, hopefully I'm not going to embarrass myself too much having said that the game's going to be a lot easier. We're going to see, let's fly towards him. We're going to see how much easier it is with a turret helping us out versus just with our standard guns. Of course, a little bit of strategy because we want the turret to have a good line of sight. But the turret will now just automatically shoot. So it's doing damage even when I'm not. You know, I don't know how many times I actually hit it myself. Probably not as many times as the turret hit him. So the game becomes significantly easier, even in the basic Hornet, just having that turret upgrade. So yeah, that's another one of those things that will help with the difficulty of the game. Having upgrades, it'll make missions smoother. You know, getting money smoother from one ship to the other, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I'm excited about the upgrades. Again, it's a very basic state. I'll keep working on those. We'll keep adding ones. Keep brainstorming ideas. We'll put shield generators in either one side or another side. Some ships with physical shields might have better ones that take more damage, or have some other boosts on them, stuff like that. Larger capital ships will give you more customizable control, because basically what will happen is on larger ships you have more turrets, more defensive, more offensive turrets. So on like a frigate with many turrets, you'll be able to control more on an individual basis versus the way I showed you where it's sort of kind of symmetrical. So I think the larger the ship, the more customization you'll have, the more upgrade slots you'll have, the more possibilities. So what's going on there? Well, we have a new spinning beam ship. So remember when I made this guy, or when me and the artist, when we made this ship, after we saw how awesome it is, we had the idea, hey, let's make more. And you know, I looked at what we have, what we need in terms of ships, and we needed a civilian frigate. So here is the civilian frigate. It is a beam frigate. It's got this rotating beam array like the other ship. And of course, just to be extra cool, we have this counterclockwise rotating other array. You know, can't have too many things that are rotating. Let's switch to it. There we go. So yeah, it's got kind of interesting because the cockpit view is really, really obscured by these spinning elements. So at certain points, you might have no idea what's going on. You have to trust your sensors more, your HUD, your other views. You certainly have a bunch of views to choose from. We added these cool, side thrusters to it too, right? But the main thing is really the beams. Yeah, it's a little challenging actually hitting the right spot there, but there we go. So yeah, we're gonna keep adding these awesome, cool-looking ships. We're gonna keep looking for places where we can, shake up the genre with awesome-looking ships, with cool elements, crazy beams, crazy weapons, things like that. As we continue, so that's part of the real big reason for the Kickstarter is to get as many of these things into the game as possible. $10,000 would add approximately 10, 20, 30 more ships. And within those ships, there could be really awesome huge ships like this, really awesome fighters, really awesome gunships, corvettes, all kinds of crazy stuff. So definitely the Kickstarter is very important. If it doesn't fund, it's not the end of the game. Obviously, these ships already exist here, and I'm going to do my best to get as many of them as possible in the game in case the Kickstarter doesn't fund based on my own savings from Void Destroyer. But with the Kickstarter, with your support, with the extra $10,000, more and more crazy awesome things like this ship will be in the game, making it even better. Hopefully making it the greatest space sandbox real-time strategy game made by one guy with a lot of help from a lot of different sources with an awesome artist on board ever made. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.